Hey there, deep divers. Today we're gonna be switching gears a bit for this depth dive.
Oh,
Yeah, we're gonna explore this website
okay.
called The Spiritual Seek. It's got this
Huh.
really unique approach to personality and awareness test. Kind of blends psychology and spirituality,
Mm.
which is something I've always found intriguing.
Yeah. What's captivating about the spiritual seek is how it takes these familiar personality tests,
Yeah.
the ones we've all seen a million times,
Right.
and it just adds this whole other layer of spiritual exploration.
Oh.
They have 7 different tests. Each one's got its own little twist,
Okay.
but they all tap into this idea that, really understanding ourselves goes beyond just outward behavior.
That's what caught my attention too. It's like they're
Well,
trying to bridge that gap between who we are on the surface and who we are,
yeah,
at our core.
exactly.
And they even incorporate elements of ancient Greek mythology,
Oh, yeah.
which I think is really cool.
Yeah, it's really clever how they do that.
Yeah.
It makes these complex concepts
Right?
much more relatable.
Yeah.
Like, for example, in the youth wisdom test,
Okay.
it aligns your results with a specific Greek god or goddess,
Oh, wow.
like, Athena or Apollo.
Okay, now I'm picturing myself getting the results and it says I'm aligned with like the god of mischief.
Uh-huh.
I'm already curious to see what that might say about my personality.
I think that's the beauty of these tests, is that they spark that curiosity.
Yeah.
They invite us to explore these different facets of ourselves.
So should we start by unpacking this idea of
Sure.
mental age versus chronological age? I mean, I know how old I am according to my birth certificate,
Yeah.
but what does it even mean to have a mental age?
It's a fascinating concept, right?
Yeah.
It's this idea that
Yeah.
our minds don't necessarily age at the same rate as our bodies do.
Okay.
So the mental age test on the website really digs into how your experiences,
Okay.
your values, even your cultural background have shaped your mindset.
So it's like our minds are on their own timeline almost, influenced by everything we've been through and everyone we've met.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is they use this AI system called Personality HPT
Okay.
to help analyze your responses.
Mm.
It works alongside human psychologists to create a more
Hips.
nuanced and personalized assessment.
Wait, AI and psychologists working together on a personality test?
Yeah.
Tell me more about how that works.
So Personality HPT uses algorithms and machine learning to analyze
Okay.
patterns in your responses to the test questions. Imagine it sifting through this massive amount of data,
Wow.
looking for connections between your answers and certain mindset profiles.
It's like having a super smart computer assistant helping their psychologists get a clearer picture of
Yeah.
your mental landscape.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And based on that analysis,
Yeah.
they've identified 14 distinct mindset profiles.
Oh, wow.
So, for example, you might be classified as an independent thinker, a creative visionary, or even a pragmatic realist.
Okay, now I'm really starting to see how this goes beyond those, simple personality quizzes.
Yeah.
It's diving deeper into those underlying
Yeah,
thought patterns and motivations that shape
absolutely.
how we approach the world.
And that's just the beginning.
Wow.
Remember, they have 6 other tests,
Right.
each one exploring a different aspect of personality and awareness.
Yeah.
We have the spiritual awareness test.
Oh, I was just about to ask about that one.
Okay.
It seems like it would be hard to measure something as subjective as
Yeah.
spiritual awareness.
Right.
How do they even go about doing that?
Well, the spiritual awareness test focuses on your capacity for introspection
Okay.
and your ability to connect with something larger than yourself.
Okay.
It asks, about your sense of purpose,
Uh-huh.
your connection to nature,
Okay.
your openness to, different perspectives.
So it's not necessarily about religious beliefs or practices,
Yep.
but more about that, inner sense of knowing, that
Yeah.
feeling of interconnectedness.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that awareness goes beyond
Okay.
just our physical senses
Yeah.
and our logical minds.
Right.
It's about tapping into that deeper level of understanding that can be
Yeah.
really hard to articulate sometimes.
That makes sense. I can see how this test would appeal to people who are on a spiritual journey,
Right.
even if they, haven't quite figured out what that journey looks like yet.
And speaking of journeys,
Yeah.
the spiritual awakening test actually delves into that process of personal transformation
Okay.
that can often be, accompanied by these profound shifts in our values and our perceptions of reality.
I've heard people talk about spiritual awakenings
Yeah.
as these like life-altering experiences, but I've always wondered what that actually means in a practical sense. Is it like suddenly seeing the world in a completely different way?
It can be like that for some people.
Yeah.
But it's often more subtle
Okay.
and gradual than that.
Okay.
It's more about, becoming more aware of our own
Right.
thoughts, feelings, and motivations, and then how those patterns are shaping your experiences.
So it's not necessarily about having a sudden epiphany, but
Right.
more about that ongoing process of
That's the
exact
idea.
discovery and, peeling back those layers of conditioning.
Precisely. And a key element of spiritual awakening,
Okay.
as defined by this test,
Yeah.
is open-mindedness.
Open-mindedness. That sounds simple enough, but I think that can be a real challenge sometimes,
Yeah,
especially when we're confronted with beliefs or ideas that contradict our own.
absolutely. It's about being willing to
Yeah.
step outside of our comfort zones
Right.
and consider alternative perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Even if those perspectives initially, make us feel a little uncomfortable,
Yeah.
it's about recognizing that our own worldview is just one of many possible ways of seeing the world.
I guess true open-mindedness requires a certain level of humility too, doesn't it? It's about acknowledging that we don't have all the answers
Right.
and that there's always more to learn.
That's a great point. And it's something that's emphasized in
Yeah.
a lot of spiritual traditions.
Yeah.
The idea that the more we learn,
Right.
the more we realize how much we don't know.
I love that. It reminds me that learning is a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
And there's always room for
Right.
growth and expansion.
Speaking of growth,
Okay.
let's shift gears a bit and talk about the Great Personality Test.
Okay.
This one takes inspiration from the Myers-Briggs model,
Oh, yeah, the Myers-Briggs.
which a lot of people are familiar with.
I remember taking that test years ago. It
Yeah.
categorized me as an INFP, which,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, stands for
Uh-huh.
introverted, intuitive feeling and perceiving.
You got it.
Yeah.
The Great Personality Test builds on those
Uh-oh.
16 basic personality types.
Okay.
But it adds this really fascinating twist. It incorporates a self-calibration feature,
What's that?
which means the test actually adapts each time you take it.
Wait, so it's like the test is learning about me
Yeah,
as I'm learning about myself.
it is.
That's so cool.
And they encourage you to take it multiple times
Oh, wow.
because each attempt can reveal new insights about your personality as you become more self-aware.
I'm already thinking about how my results might change if I take it again now
Right.
versus like a few years ago. So what kind of personality traits does it look at
Sure.
beyond the usual like introversion and extroversion stuff?
Well, it delves into a wider spectrum of traits,
Okay.
including things like sagacity,
Okay.
irony, and even spirituality.
Hmm.
Remember how we were just talking about open-mindedness?
Yeah.
Well, the spirituality trait in this test explores
Okay.
your openness to experiences that transcend the purely material realm.
It's like all these different tests are interconnected somehow,
That.
exploring different facets of the same underlying concept of self-awareness.
Right.
Okay, so sagacity, that's a new one for me.
Sagacity is all about wisdom
Okay.
and sound judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Someone with high sagacity is often
Red.
very perceptive, insightful,
Yeah.
able to make wise decisions,
Hmm.
even in really complex situations.
Think of someone like a
Yeah.
mentor or a trusted advisor, someone who, always seems to offer sage advice.
Exactly. It's like that gut feeling you get when
Yeah.
you just know someone has a lot of life experience
Right.
and has learned from their mistakes.
And then there's irony, which is
Yeah.
an interesting trope.
Yeah, it's a fascinating one to include in a personality test.
How does the spiritual seek define like irony in the context of personality?
It's about having a sense of humor,
Okay.
about life's absurdities,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to see the contradictions and inconsistencies in the world around us.
Mm.
It's not about being like cynical or sarcastic, but rather having a more detached and playful perspective on things.
That's a great point. It's like being able to laugh at yourself
Right.
and not take things too seriously,
Yeah.
even when things get tough.
And that can be such a valuable skill to have in navigating
Right.
the ups and downs of life.
Yeah.
Now, if you're looking to
Okay.
test your logical thinking skills,
Uh-huh.
the Spiritual Seek also offers a logical intelligence IQ test.
Oh, an IQ test. I always get a little nervous when I hear those words.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm up for that kind of mental challenge.
Don't worry, it's not as intimidating as it sounds.
Okay.
This test really focuses on evaluating your ability to
Okay.
solve problems,
Uh-huh.
identify patterns, and think critically.
Okay.
And remember, there's no strict time limit.
Oh, okay.
They want you to take your time and really engage with the questions.
That's a relief. I'm much better at thinking things through carefully
Yeah.
than racing against the clock.
So how does it actually work?
Yeah.
Does it involve, like, math problems or complex puzzles?
Mm.
It includes a variety of question types,
Okay.
some of which might involve, basic math or spatial reasoning.
Okay.
But the focus is really on assessing your logical thinking abilities.
Okay.
So, for example, you might be asked to identify the missing element in a sequence,
Okay.
or to solve a riddle that requires deductive reasoning.
So it's more about testing those critical thinking skills
Right.
that we use in everyday life
Yeah.
rather than just, memorizing facts or formulas.
Exactly. And they've designed the test to be challenging but also engaging.
Okay.
It's about stretching your mental muscles and having fun with it at the same time.
I can appreciate that. Now, we've talked about tests for adults.
Right.
But what about younger audiences? The youth wisdom test sounds like it's specifically geared towards kids and teens.
It is. And it's designed to be very engaging and relatable for that age group.
Okay.
It asks questions about things like friendships, decision-making, dealing with difficult emotions.
It sounds like it's more about, like, emotional intelligence and social skills rather than just, like, book smarts.
You got it. And what I love about this test is it blends ancient wisdom with modern technology.
Oh, wow.
They've used AI, specifically their Personality HPT Junior system, to help analyze the results and provide those personalized insights.
It's amazing how AI is being used to make these complex concepts more accessible for younger generations.
It really is. And the way they've incorporated Greek mythology into the results is just so clever.
Yeah.
It's a fun way to engage kids and help them connect with, those timeless themes of wisdom, courage, and compassion.
I remember being fascinated by Greek mythology as a kid. It really sparked my imagination, made me think about the world in a whole new way.
Okay, so we've covered all 7 tests now.
Yeah. And I have to say I'm impressed by the variety and depth of the Spiritual Seek's approach.
Me too. They've managed to create a platform that's both educational and entertaining.
Right.
Which is no easy feat.
And what's really cool is that they're actively inviting their community to participate in shaping the future of their platform.
Exactly.
You mean that poll, the next test feature we mentioned earlier?
Exactly. They're letting users vote on what kind of tests they'd like to see develop next.
That's such a great way to keep things fresh and relevant.
Yeah.
It shows that they're really listening to their audience and want to create something that truly meets their needs.
And if you're interested in exploring any of these concepts in more detail, they also have a whole library of articles on their website.
So it's more than just a collection of tests.
Right.
It's a whole resource for self-discovery.
Yeah.
Now, before I move on to our final part, I want to circle back to this idea of mental age versus chronological age. We've talked about how the mental age test takes into account our experiences and how they've shaped our mindset.
It's a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, how much control do we actually have over our own mental aging process?
Right. If our minds can age at a different rate than our bodies, can we actively do things to keep our minds sharp and adaptable?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think it's something we'll be exploring further in our next segment.
I can't wait. But before we get there, I want to leave our listeners with this thought. If you could identify those areas where your mental age might be lagging behind, what steps could you take to nurture those aspects of yourself?
A powerful question.
Yeah.
And one that I hope our listeners will ponder.
Yeah.
As we move into the final part of our deep dive.
It's really struck me, but as we've been talking about these tests from the Spiritual Seek, how they've managed to make self-discovery feel engaging and almost playful. It's not about feeling judged or boxed in.
That's what makes them so refreshing. It's like they're inviting you on this adventure of self-exploration.
Yeah.
And they've packed all these really cool tools to help you along the way.
It's definitely not your typical personality test experience. They've taken these potentially complex concepts like, spiritual awareness, open-mindedness, and even wisdom and made them so approachable.
Yeah, they really have. And they're not shying away from the nuances either.
Right.
Like, remember how the spiritual awareness test doesn't just give you like a simple pass or fail.
Right.
It actually delves into these different facets of awareness.
Yeah.
With its unique scoring system.
Yeah.
And detailed explanations for each question.
It's like they're saying, hey, there's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to spirituality. It's about understanding, your own unique path and honoring wherever you are on that journey.
And that journey is what the spiritual awakening test really gets at, right? It's about acknowledging that personal growth is often a process of questioning.
Right.
Shedding old beliefs.
Yeah.
And embracing these new perspectives.
It makes me think about how sometimes the most profound insights come from those moments where we're willing to, challenge our assumptions and step outside of our comfort zones.
Absolutely. It's like that quote, the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. That willingness to be a beginner, to embrace not knowing, is often where the real growth happens.
And the spiritual seek seems to encourage that mindset throughout their tests.
They do.
They even give you the option to dive deeper with those articles that explore the concepts in more detail.
It's clear they're really passionate about these ideas.
Yeah.
And they want to create this space where people can not only discover more about themselves, but also continue to learn and evolve.
I think that's what I appreciate most about this whole platform. It's not about arriving at a final destination, but rather embracing that ongoing journey, self-discovery.
And they're doing it in a way that feels accessible, inclusive, and even fun.
Right. Who'd thought you could learn about ancient Greek mythology while taking a personality test?
The Youth Wisdom Test is just genius.
Yeah.
It's making these timeless concepts relevant and engaging for younger audiences. It reminds me that learning doesn't have to be dry or academic, It can be playful, imaginative, and even a little bit mischievous.
Speaking of mischievous, what Greek god or goddess do you think you would align with based on your personality?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Let's see. Part of me wants to say Hermes.
Okay.
The messenger god. Because I love to communicate and connect with people.
Yeah.
But there's also a bit of Artemis, the goddess of the hunt in me.
Okay.
I'm always seeking out new adventures, exploring different perspectives.
I love that. It sounds like you embody a beautiful blend of curiosity, connection, and a thirst for knowledge.
Thank you.
And those qualities are certainly reflected in your approach to this deep dive.
Well, it's been a fascinating journey exploring the spiritual seek with you.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From the concept of mental age to the nuances of spiritual awakening and the power of open-mindedness.
It's been a really enlightening conversation.
Yeah.
I hope our listeners have found it valuable as well.
Me too.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up our deep dive into the spiritual seek, I want to leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
We've talked about how these tests can help us uncover hidden aspects of ourselves and embrace new possibilities.
Right.
So what's one area of your life where you're feeling called to explore?
To question or to simply be more open-minded.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a new hobby, a challenging conversation, or a different way of looking at the world. Whatever it is, I encourage you to embrace that curiosity and see where it leads you.
Beautifully said. Remember, the journey of self-discovery is ongoing.
Yeah.
And there's always something new to learn and experience.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.